What's going on, YouTube? Ben Halver here with the Dose Media Network, and I am so excited for today's video because we've got a brand new category of NFL props on PrizePicks, and I'm not talking a new stat category, I'm talking a new category, period, NFL sprints. If you haven't seen this yet, it dropped on the site a couple of days ago. NFL sprints are a 4-week prop category. So what we're taking here are the over-unders on how players are going to perform over the next 4 weeks, weeks 2 through 5 in the NFL. I actually think there's some really strong props on the board here, and strategically a few ways that we can attack this to gain some edge. So in today's video, we're going to be cooking up a nice juicy 6-legger for NFL sprints on PrizePicks. I'm going to go over the first 4 legs of that 6-legger here. If you want to see the entire 6-legger in addition to every single pick'em slip played by myself and our team throughout the course of the year on every site, PrizePicks, Underdog, Sleeper, and more, we have officially launched our premium Discord channel, Dose Premium. So if you'd like to support the channel and make some money for yourselves in the process, the link to join that is in the description to this video. Now, without any further ado, let's get into it. The first thing that I want to start with here before even getting into the props themselves is a key piece of strategy that I think should impact how we're building our slips for this format. Now, if you look at the very top here, PrizePicks notes that players must play in all 4 games listed in order to be eligible. This is an extremely important factor when it comes to this new category of prop because it levels the playing field in terms of EV on overs and unders. One of the reasons that unders are very often more profitable bets in pick'em is because you get the equity of potential injuries, especially in football where missing time is very common. In this format, regardless of if you have the over or the under, if your player misses any game over this next stretch of the 4 weeks, the leg gets rebooted and reverts a level down in terms of playout structure, essentially giving you an added level protection on your over bets. The other important thing that I would take into account before even getting into the props themselves is studying the schedules for weeks 2 through 5 and identifying what teams are likely to find themselves in higher or lower scoring games, which teams have multiple home games, road games, West, East Coast travel games, etc. This is just an extra level of information that we have at our disposals that can help us get a grasp on understanding potential game environments for the teams of the players we want to be selecting. So with that, I'll start with the first 2 legs correlated props in this slip and explain why these look like fantastic bets. Josh Allen over 1035.5 passing yards and Steph Diggs over 24.5 receptions. So to hit these lines respectively over the next 4 games, Josh Allen would have to average 259 passing yards per games and Diggs would have to average 6.25 catches per games. Now, baseline, these are pretty fair projections for these guys. If we look at last year as a sample, including the playoffs, Josh Allen averaged 272.1 yards per game over an 18-game sample size, and Diggs averaged 6.6 receptions per game. Both averages are slightly above what we would need to cash these props, and obviously we saw the Bills struggle in embarrassing fashion on Monday night, but they were facing a top 3 defense in the NFL on the road in a uniquely chaotic game environment. Even still, while Allen did struggle in that game, Diggs still managed to produce 10 catches on 13 targets, clearly maintaining the dominant target share we know him to have in this offense. And going back to what I referenced at the top of this video, beyond these props looking good from a raw projection standpoint, the Bills have an incredibly favorable schedule over the coming 4 weeks. This week, home opener against the Raiders, then on the road to face the Commanders, followed by 2 straight home games against the Dolphins and Jaguars. This run could not set up any better. I expect the Bills to bounce back in tremendous form against the Raiders in front of their home crowd this week. They have the highest total of the week, sitting above 28 points. And after the Commanders next week, 2 games with massive shootout potential, back-to-back against Miami and Jacksonville, both at home for the Bills. I see 3 of these 4 games as spots where we have access to true Josh Allen ceiling performances, and if Allen's performing at his peak, it's very likely that Diggs is doing the same. Correlation in these slips, especially when you get into 4, 5, and 6 leggers, is imperative to long-term success on PrizePicks or any other pick'em site for that matter. And speaking of correlation, albeit loosely to the Bill stuff here, we have Trevor Lawrence as 7 passing touchdowns as our next prop. I absolutely love this spot, especially with the context of the Jags' upcoming schedule. Over the next 4 weeks, Jacksonville will play 3 home games in a row against the Chiefs, Texans, and Falcons, concluding in a road trip to Buffalo in Week 5. I mean, T-Law could realistically combine for 7 touchdowns in the Chiefs and Bills games alone, and then home matchups against Houston and Atlanta are far from imposing. This prop seems like an absolute smash, almost a lock to push at minimum, with a great chance at cashing, and if we get the back and forth fireworks in week 5 between the Bills and Jags that I'm hoping for, that I'm expecting, that helps all 3 of the props that we've locked in so far. And finally, for the last prop I'm going to cover in today's video, I like the under on Jared Goff's passing yards at 1025.5. So to clear the over here, Jared Goff would have to average 256.5 passing yards per game. He averaged just over that number last year in his first year with the Lions, averaging 261 yards per game. But contextually, again, we'll look at the Lions schedule here in a second. It favors the Lions here. In week 1 against Kansas City, Jared Goff threw for only 253 yards, and that was in a game with a 53-point total. We don't have any 53-point totals coming up on the Lions schedule anytime soon. Instead, the Lions will face Seattle and Atlanta in back-to-back home games before traveling to Green Bay and then coming back home to face Carolina. Now, out of these 4 games, Seattle's the only one that I think really has potential to be dangerous in terms of shooting out. And not only would I expect the Lions to be favored in all 4 of these upcoming matchups, I know they are for the next 2, but when you look at the Falcons and Packers in the mix here, we're talking about 2 of the slowest paced teams in the NFL. We're talking about game environments that'll reduce the amount of plays that get ran. We're talking about teams, especially in the Falcons, and then looking ahead again to the Panthers in week 5 that are likely to struggle to produce any offensive production in a significant way. Really, this seems like a stretch of games that I expect to feature a heavy dose of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs for the Lions offensively as Detroit plays in slower-paced, run-dominant game environments. And so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the first 4 well-thought-out legs of an NFL Sprint Slip PrizePicks newest NFL player prop format. I think this slip is playable as a 4-leg power play, but I'm going to be building it out to be a full 6-leg flex. If you're interested in tailing, I will be posting that in the Dose Premium Discord when this video goes live. You can also find every other slip I play there as well. The link to join is in the description to this video. And that's going to be it for today, folks. We'll be back with more content on the channel throughout the week. Hope everybody out there is having a great day, and we'll talk to you on the next one.